Guillermo Gaviria Correa. Guillermo Gaviria Correa, November 27, 1962, Medellín, May 5, 2003, was the state governor of Antioquia, a province of over 6 million people in northwestern Colombia. Kidnapped by FARC guerrillas during a march against violence, he was held captive for a year in the mountains and was among 10 fellow hostages killed by the FARC in response to an attempted military rescue. Gaviria Correa's letters survived his execution and were published as Diary of a Kidnapped Colombian Governor. His gubernatorial agenda also survived, carried on by his younger brother Anibal. Gaviria Correa was nominated posthumously for the 2004 Nobel Peace Prize, but did not receive the prize that year. Education and career. Gaviria Correa was the eldest of 8 children of a prominent family in Antioquia. Having completed his undergraduate studies in 1988 at the Colorado School of Mines in the U.S., he then began work at a Colombian ferronickel mine, Cerro Matoso S.A. In 1994, Gaviria Correa accepted the invitation of Colombian President Ernesto Samper to lead the newly created Institute of National Roads. In this capacity, he oversaw the improvement and repair of Colombian roads and bridges until 1999. In 2000, Gaviria Correa was elected governor of Antioquia. His administration focused on improvement in 6 areas: housing, education, peace, reforestation, food security and nutrition, and administrative transparency. Gaviria Correa was also chosen by his fellow governors to preside over the Colombian Federation of Governors. Nonviolence and sacrifice. As part of his congruent peace plan, Guillermo Gaviria Correa took inspiration from Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi and began deploying nonviolent actions in the department. In 2001, he created the position of Peace Commissioner, naming Gilberto Echeverry Mejia to this post. From April 17 to 21, 2002, accompanied by Commissioner Echeverry, Gaviria Correa led a 120-kilometer, 85-mile nonviolent march for reconciliation and solidarity with the municipality of Caicedo, a town in western Antioquia that had been besieged by guerrillas and paramilitaries since 19. The march began in Medellín with over 1,000 civilians and was attended by several mayors of Antioquia, as well as internationally known nonviolence leaders such as Bernard Lafayette. As the march neared Caicedo on April 21, FARC guerrillas confronted the march, kidnapping the governor and his peace commissioner. For over a year, the 2 men were held hostage in the mountain forests. On May 5, 2003, after a year in captivity, Gaviria Correa was killed by the FARC, along with Echeverry and 8 other captives, during an attempted rescue by Colombian armed forces. Writings. During his year in captivity, Gaviria Correa kept journals and wrote frequent letters to his 2 children and his wife Yolanda Pinto de Gaviria, centered on his love for them and his hopes for reconciliation among Colombians. These writings became a book and were later translated to English as Diary of a Kidnapped Colombian Governor. Weeks before his death, Gaviria Correa wrote these lines in his final letter to his father. In an open letter to the people of Antioquia, written before setting out on the fateful march to Caicedo, Gaviria Correa explained his motives as well as his understanding of the risks involved. Legacy. In the first election after Gaviria Correa's death, after pursuing the same programs begun by his older brother in 2000, Anibal was selected 2007's best governor in Colombia by Colombia Lider, a national nonpartisan institute. Specific accomplishments cited included extending health coverage to 1.6 million inhabitants, providing new or improved housing for 110,000 low-income families, building schools for 90,000 additional elementary and intermediate students, increasing access to potable water from 24 to 96 municipalities. Varying opinions exist on the legacy of Gaviria Correa's movement of nonviolence. In the years following his death, violence decreased markedly. However, most Colombians attributed this improvement not to nonviolence, but to the opposite, namely, strong military offensives by President Alvaro Uribe against the FARC, paramilitary, and other narco-terrorist groups. On the other hand, Gaviria Correa's writing and his story of personal sacrifice continue to inspire those involved in the cause of nonviolence. In nominating Gaviria Correa for the 2004 Nobel Peace Prize, for instance, nonviolence scholar Glenn D. Page described him as a nonviolent political leader whose legacy is no less significant than those of Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. According to Nobel Peace Prize winner Merritt Maguire, Governor Gaviria's writings reveal a brave and deeply spiritual man whose compassionate heart and fine mind were not corrupted by suffering, but deepened to an all-encompassing unconditional love of everyone, including his captors. References